What's up, everybody? Ron Placone here. June 8th will be the next screening of Left at Wall. There's going to be a short stand-up show featuring cast members Sarah K. Godot, myself, and Andrew Saxena, a screening of the film, and a Q&A after. And this is going to be the last domestic screening of Left at Wall. We're moving on to the next stages of the film. Should have some really exciting news over the next few months, but this is going to be the last domestic screening. So if you're in Southern California, please join us to catch Left at Wall on the big screen before it moves on to the next stages of the film. And June 18th, for anyone in LA or the San Pedro neighborhood, we are doing a house show with Hamell On Trial, who is also today's guest. We're doing a house show with Hamell June 18th, 7 p.m. At Boliote. That's the new non-trad venue that is coordinated by myself and Andrew Saxena. If you're interested in coming to that show, drop me an email at ronplacone.com or find the Facebook event page or just email me. That's probably easiest, ronplacone.com. See you there. Episode 37, Hamell On Trial. Hamell On Trial is a one-man rock and roll institution. Mainly a musician, but part storyteller, part poet, part comedian, Hamell On Trial Live is unlike anything you've ever seen. It's beautiful, chaotic, and like many special things, it's not for everyone. I've known Hamell for nearly 20 years now, and there's a ton he shared in this interview alone I had no clue about. He opened up for The Clash. Anyway, buckle in for a hell of a story and a little bit of two guys who have known each other for a long time talking some music and politics, as is bound to happen. Also, as 1000 is likely to be my last project in the podcast world, Hamell will probably be the only person in the world to do every iteration of a podcast and or radio show that I've ever had. Please welcome to the show, Hamell On Trial.
Stuff got lost. People would have enjoyed that. That would have been entertaining.
I know.
People don't know about San Pedro. They want to know what's going on in San Pedro. I didn't know it was a tad affluent. You know, who knew?
It's actually it's a working class neighborhood. It's definitely not. I mean, there's some of the houses by the water are pretty nice and pretty big, but for the most part, San Pedro is a working class town. It's a union town. It's the last of the affordable beach towns, and that is the truth. And
you're touring Econo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. You tour Econo, you play Econo, you jam Econo, you film Econo in San Pedro. And I like it that way. I like it there. But yeah, Bukowski had a little house. And by the way, everybody, I'm talking to Hamell On Trial.
Thanks.
How are you?
For God's sakes.
So I want to start here, actually. You know, the whole concept with this podcast is I'm interviewing 1,000 people and I'm only going to do it once with each person. So there's sort of like a sense of, I don't know if mortality is the right word, but sort of a sense of like documentation. And I realized that you are likely going to be the only person ever in the world that will have done every iteration of a podcast that I've ever had in my life.
I'm honored.
Are you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was. I remember the first one, getting off the bus with Annie and like down in your mom's basement and shit.
Yes.
You know? And I thought, yeah, this guy, you know, I got a kick out of it. First of all, it's nice that you gave a shit about anything I did, and yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Great. Couldn't keep on, you know. Congratulations on your success, and keep on rocking. You know.
Hey man, yeah. I mean, it's sort of a trippy thing because I still remember that first meeting because it was back when podcasts were relatively obscure. In fact, I think was
very
I
much
the
so.
first?
Yes.
So I was
uncharted territory.
Nice, yeah. I remember that.
We were actually. I was in a conversation last night. I'm saying with a friend. I'm in the Poconos, and he was talking about weed, you know, in the state of weed right now, which is whether, you know, as I travel across the country, whether it's legal in your state or not, you can probably buy it at every gas station, which means that it's not, you know. And I remember, like, my son, when he was like 9 or 10, YouTube was like, his head was exploding, and there was no television. It was all YouTube. And they could do it. It was a, frontier. There were no laws. There was no FCC regulations. There was no advertising. They were doing whatever the fuck they went. And, it's kind of like weed now. Like something's going to come down and just like, start making money. Maybe the mob, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
It is crazy to think about just how things have changed throughout that time.
Totally.
Which of course,
there were no phones with cameras 9/11. Think about that. Like you would have seen 9 bazillion, videos of 9/11, but you didn't see any because nobody had a phone then. It's kind of weird. It wasn't that long ago,
Right?
To me, anyway.
No, that's crazy. I never thought about that. Imagine if we had camera phones.
Oh, totally.
For the people on those planes.
There was only a couple, It's like the Kennedy assassination,
I'll start very basic for anyone who might not know who you are. And as someone who's been a fan of yours for many, many years now, I still have trouble putting it into words. But what is Hamell on Trial?
I know. Were you to say to me, all right, let's go see this guy. He's in his 60s. He comes out with an acoustic guitar, and he basically tells everybody to go fuck themselves. And I would go, I don't probably want to see that tonight. Like, that's fine. I'll watch anime. There's some Ghibli studio shit I want to see. But, I mean, it's political. It's funny. It's, maybe it's, some people say it's like a Dylan Henry Rollins meets fucking Kerouac meets, I don't know, Bikini Kill. I don't know. I mean, it's fun. In a word, it's fun. There's that thing. It admittedly a little challenging and confrontational sometimes, but ultimately fun. How's that? I'm looking for, I just get, and I know that you're the same way, and maybe there is why we have a little, we're past. Injustice infuriates us.
Mm-hmm.
And I can speak for myself. You're infinitely more rational. You seem to like to hold your tongue. I would never be a good debater. I'm dead serious. I wish I had gone, like there was a debating class, and I wish so that I could just drain myself of the emotional and just think that. But I think, you're in a situation right now where maybe there's a guy, and he's a Nazi, let's say. He had been president before, and he might potentially be president again. He's mocked handicapped people. He has mocked veterans. He had mocked stutterers. He has, multiple sexual offenses against him. He called for an insurrection, and we're thinking, there's people on the end. I don't know. Maybe I'll vote for him or maybe not. It's so absolutely freaking insane that I sing love songs now and children's rhymes now because I can't, and songs about bestiality or whatever. How's that? Was that a good description? Did I cut right to it?
I think you got it. Yeah, I think you nailed it. Just what one of my buddies, actually my buddy who is whose house the show is going to be at, he was saying, because I was sending him a bunch of your videos and stuff, and he goes, it's just one guy, but it's a band. Like, that's a band. It's just him and an acoustic guitar, but that is a freaking band.
Well, here's the thing. As a youth, in my formative musical years, if you will, initially it was rock and roll. I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan when I was in 4th grade. And that was unquestionably, everything sort of shifted from black and white to Technicolor. Kennedy had been assassinated 6 months prior. Everything seemed very gloomy and black and white. Not dissimilar to now, actually, frankly, a little Kafka-esque, although I was in 3rd grade, so I didn't really understand that. And then the Beatles came along 6 months later, and sociologically, it just, it was very, and they were hearing bombs. I mean, when that first British invasion, they were just really, really happy to be alive. You can hear it in the music, like, holy shit, we escaped the camps, and then but there were, guys like Dylan, acoustic, absolutely. and Lead Belly and Woody Guthrie that I really, really responded to. But other than that, singer-songwriters really weren't my cup of tea. And then, and I was in a band that was all original in upstate New York, and we were kind of like a Jay Giles meets the Ramones, kind of a very fast bar band kind of vibe, a lot of energy, what they would call pub rock, just prior to punk rock, actually, Ian Drury, that kind of stuff. And then, it no longer became possible to dangle the carrot in front of the horse. I mean, a lot of them, the band members that I was with, there was a band I was in called The Works for 7 years. And, Justified, they had girlfriends, potentially wives, and maybe children or whatever. And, and then I heard a couple of things, one of which was an album by Roger Manning. It was the first time I'd heard the expression anti-folk. And it was on SST, which was traditionally, a hardcore. I mean, Black Flag was on it, and the Minutemen were on it. I mean, sort of, extremely indie and very kind of, cool.
Well, here, man, I gotta interject and also mention, because we were on a San Pedro thing before we hit record. The SST offices are right by San Pedro and Torrance. The original. I mean, it's not there anymore, but
yeah.
SST was like the Minutemen.
Greg Ginn. Yeah, was Greg Ginn from San Pedro as well?
He was not. He was in, I believe, Torrance. I think he still is. But the Minutemen are all Pedro. Like Mike Watt still lives here, and yeah.
I've toured with Mike, actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta let him know.
And it was cool because it was on my birthday. It was on my birthday. It was do you know Jeff Smith from the Hickoids, Saucetex Records, by any chance?
That's your label. That's what I know about it.
Yeah. The Hickoids are just a great. I mean, I don't really, probably back in the 80s were the first, that whole cowpunk thing, but infinitely more like punk than what are some of those bands like? I can't even think of. Like, where did Jason Isbell come from? What band was he in?
He was with Drive By Truckers for a little bit. Yeah.
So, that around that when they all, like the Hickoids were the first of that breed to go, we love the Pistols, but we love Hank Williams. And they were drunken. Very Replacements meets Hank Williams almost, and they're still together and they're really amazing. I mean, it's almost like NRBQ in that it just has all these, it's got Tex-Mex vibe, Rocky Erickson vibe. If you ever get a chance to, check out the Hickoids, check them out. But anyway, so Jeff Smith, who's in the Hickoids and is the president of the label, he does a lot of touring. He's always helping his punk friends out, and Mike Watt was one of them. So he did a small tour of Texas, and he asked me that if I could open, because one guy and it's easy. There's like I did the Pogues for, just they were glad. Oh, one guy, So yeah,
you opened for the Pogues.
Yeah, I did 22 dates with the Pogues from New York to San Francisco. Actually.
I never knew that. I never knew you toured with the Pogues.
Yeah, great tour. Great tour. Right. It was hysterical, too, because it was the Supper Club in New York was the first one. And then it just went really well. If they gave me shit, I would give them shit back, and they kind of loved it. And Ireland is a good country for me anyway. And but about 4 dates in, they were like, hey, you can ride on the bus, save yourself some money. And I was like, cool. So I hopped on the bus. So now I did the rest of the tour on the bus. And just great guys and fucking amazing musicians.
What were you doing before the bus? Were you just taking trains? What were you doing before the bus? Did you rent a car?
I had my car.
In Ireland?
I kind of I gotta be honest with you. I don't love being on the bus. I mean, because I like, if I want to go to a bookstore, I can go and do what I want to do. I like being autonomous, obviously,
Yeah.
So, but in this particular case, it was going across the country, and I was just curious, frankly, what the experience would be like, which has been the impetus, certainly more than money. And, yeah, so around the fourth, so I get on the bus and I'm like, cool, because my record, Biggest Life, had just come out on a major. Mm-hmm. And I knew that they had heard it because my agent had said, they want you to do it. So I was like, oh, cool. You guys listened to my record. And they were like, nah, we didn't listen to your record. You were one guy. Like thought we were throwing you to the wolves. We never expected that you would be, doing that good. So they were funny, but just really good dudes, just really good. Jem Finer still calls me at Christmas. Says hi. Fairy Tale in New York, I think is now bigger than White Christmas as the biggest Christmas song ever.
Is it? I hope so.
I think it is. I think it is. I think it surpassed it like last year or something, and then he passed. So
yeah,
it exploded,
Right. Yeah, that was.
Matter
really
of fact,
bad.
I was just in Tulsa. So I had played last week. I was in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Denton. And then I drove because the Bob Dylan Center, which is in Tulsa, is closed on Monday and Tuesday. So I left Dallas Saturday night and drove so I could see it Sunday. And I lucked out because it was the last day they also had a Pogues exhibit. So the Dylan thing was wonderful, as was the Pogues thing. It was great. And I got it right by the day. It would have been gone.
I did the road comic thing full time for about 5 years. And whenever I had some crazy routing, I would always think, who do I know that would also do this crazy routing? And I would think Ed Hamell, and then I wouldn't feel so bad. Ed would take this routing.
You got to do what you got to do, but often, I mean, for me now, I do the paintings, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I never would have expected it to take off, but it's taken off really, really well. So some of those things where you think, well, I need a gas gig, like I'm going and I don't really have a market, but I can play, a place where, only 20, 30 people show up. But because of that painting thing, it can be an extremely lucrative night. So, and that's new. I mean, within the past 10 years new,
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about just where DIY touring is at right now? Is this like the most ridiculous it's ever been? I mean, I know in my world that's the case. I mean, I've been able to tour like the DIY way as a comic for about 7 years now, and I want to do that forever. I like it. I prefer it. But it has gotten, post-pandemic, it has just gotten infinitely more difficult. Venues are...
All the shitty motels have doubled their thing. My thing is a little like, okay, there was a period of time in the 90s where, like, if you were signed to a record company, they would invest in you regionally and buy, like, print media ads. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. And so it's changed in that respect. And then there was a period of time after that whole get in the van kind of years that I still saw the indie rock guys in the vans, but I could tell that money wasn't the issue. It was like skiing or golfing. Like, we're going to go out, we're going to lose money. It's going to cost us a couple $100, but we're going to have a great time rocking out. I mean, that was the thing, and I never had that luxury. Like, I had to make money. So, and I always interpreted my thing. Even when I got signed to a major, when I was 39 years old. So I knew that it wasn't going to last long. I had no delusions. I was writing songs about, chopping off George Bush's head. I pretty much knew I wouldn't be Madonna, but I also knew that it gave me opportunity to, as a small business owner, to build markets. I used to say to my wife, and she thought, I was being, too self-effacing or whatnot. I'm a brush salesman, but I was like, no, I'm very proud of my brushes, but you build markets. There's some markets I've been playing the same joint for 30 years, so my thing's really different. I don't see anybody doing what I'm doing. And you could, now with YouTube and any social media, all that shit that the record company supposedly was doing for you, you can do yourself like in an hour. And it's equally as, it's effective. I mean, a lot of that shit, as it's like, did I hit it? Did I hit it? Did I hit it? It's like, there's no guarantee on anything, really. You eat a cat, it went viral.
Well, why did you feel like the major wasn't going to last when he got signed? Why were you like, oh, this is going to be temporary?
Because I'm a realist.
Okay.
I mean, it was, you kind of, I mean, unless it is wild when something incredibly subversive, South Park and Nirvana maybe immediately come to mind, where that shit hits the mainstream hard. I do find that really, there's something really, no shit, like Kendrick Lamar's, doing that, or Billie Eilish. I mean, that shit is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I can't believe she's as successful as she is. I'm like, wow, no shit. It kind of gives you faith, because Lord knows I don't have any in humanity these days, But so when that happens, when something really creative and really trying to push the envelope, when that goes mainstream and explodes, it's a cool thing to see. And it's, I mean, Kurt Cobain had massive fucking talent, just massive, So I don't think that Kurt Cobain thought that his album was going to do what it did. And he would have been happy to open up for Sonic Youth for the rest of his life. No one was more
He might
surprised.
still be alive, honestly.
I agree with you. I remember, did you watch Montage of Heck?
Yeah.
So, a year, they were playing that record store when it exploded. There's that scene. A year later is the Japan scene, where there's all those people. I'd do heroin. It was fucking, I felt so bad. That whole thing, I thought many, many things. Like, one of it was Cobain, how feminine his melodies were in the context of that really hard, Sabbathy, Melvin-y kind of thing. But but the biggest takeaway from that fucking thing, other than the Courtney Love thing, which we won't get into, but Chris Novoselic loved him. And it all went to fucking shit. And Novoselic, you could tell they were just having a fucking good time, man. He just wanted to rock out with his friend. And all of a sudden, it's fucking hellish, Pacific Northwest. It's weird up there. It's like Macbeth. It's like Macbeth up there.
Well, what do you think would have happened had he lived?
Say it again?
What do you think would have happened had he lived? Like, just as far as the culture goes and stuff like that.
That's a good question. I would, complete conjecture. Couldn't stop creating. He was always, I'm trying to think if I could make a parallel that someone has had an enduring, Lou Reed-ish, maybe.
Yeah,
a long time, John Cale, maybe. I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody who was really, Dylan, I mean, huge, and then kind of withdrew but kept up putting great stuff, or Neil Young, or
I could have seen him being like
Harvey.
a Leonard.
Maybe PJ Harvey. She was not. Right.
I could see him being like a Leonard Cohen type. I could have seen that. I don't think Nirvana would not have been around much longer, even had he lived. Like I think we might have gotten another, maybe one or two more Nirvana records. That would have been it. And then he would. Yeah,
Leonard Cohen. That's a good one. I think because he talked about Leonard Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah, he would just be one of those guys. He probably would have put out a couple books. I mean, because he was an incredibly insightful person. And as you get older, you realize, and he was only 27 when he died.
Yeah. Oh, crazy young. Yeah.
And you also think like he was so far ahead of his time in so many ways. I mean, this was the 90s when everybody was like drinking the Clinton Kool-Aid. And here's this dude, biggest rock star in the world, going, well, actually, I'm a socialist. Like, dude, that's like, it's mind-blowing to think about now. Yeah, and it's like, that's where he was, and he didn't care. And it was incredible. I mean, it was such a beautiful, I mean, I'm a very, very big Nirvana fan, but you sometimes,
in light of his, he was always, like, he wore a dress to Headbangers Ball. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And he was always very inclusive, and I could see him doing something with Eminem. I could see him doing something with Kendrick. I could see him doing something with certainly Kathleen Hanna. I could see like a duets album, but that was cool. That was cool and creative. You know what I mean?
I could have seen him.
I always would love to see somebody like. Are you a Cure guy at all? Do you like Robert Smith?
I'm a huge. I have a Cure song tattooed on my arm. Yeah.
Those interviews, he is this fucking greatest guy, man. He's like a child. Like Brian Wilson is the same. Watch those interviews. They're just very beautiful and pure and smart and childlike.
He is a genuinely sweet
guy. But I would
guy.
love to see like Kendrick do an album with Robert Smith, or Tyler, the Creator, and Robert Smith. Like two people that you just wouldn't expect in a room and what they'd come up with,
Robert Smith single-handedly affected Ticketmaster more than our antitrust legislators did.
I don't know anything. Why?
Oh, you didn't follow that? Dude, Robert Smith.
No. I know it was an Eddie Vedder thing, but...
Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam refused to play Ticketmaster venues, which kudos to them. Pearl Jam's not really my cup of tea as a listener, but respect,
Mine.
Yeah, I mean, I respect them, but it's just not for me.
Yeah,
But
other than Nirvana, I didn't really give a shit about any of them bands, really,
Yeah, I liked more of the like pre-type band. Like I like Mudhoney. I love Dinosaur Jr.
I like Mudhoney.
Yeah, and then
Touch Me I'm Sick. Yes.
Yeah, and it was sort of like the more.
That's a real Iggy thing, but yeah. He was a real Iggy guy.
Yeah, but it was but it was beautiful. It was definitely. But yeah, man, Robert Smith, when all that tiered ticketing stuff happened with Ticketmaster, where there were like shows that were going for like $5,000 a ticket, Robert Smith was the guy that really called it out and was like, "What are you guys doing?" And he was also, because a lot of the artists, when they were confronted about it, they said, "Oh, we didn't know. We had to agree to that." And Robert Smith was the guy that blew the whistle and said, "No. We were given the option because the Cure didn't agree to it. There wasn't that tier thing.
I didn't know that.
So he kind of blew the whistle, man. And that was on a personal level, that kind of hit me a little hard because I'm a huge Springsteen fan. But Springsteen's response to all that was very, very disappointing. He just kind of shrugged and said, "Oh, well," whereas Robert Smith literally got money back for all of his fans. So it was $5. But whatever, man.
He went to the
guys. Huh?
Springsteen was a lot of guys. He was a lot of different guys, really.
I know. I mean,
I saw him. Well, I saw him twice. Now that I think about it, I saw him. I saw the Darkness on the Edge of Town tour,
nice,
and that was pretty exciting. And then I saw the Born in the USA tour, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love
Bruce on. You got to be very careful what you say here. Did you see Bruce on Broadway?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No. Why do you ask? Why
I'm just curious.
Okay.
I'm really just curious.
All right. No, I didn't. My parents did.
Yeah.
My parents got to see Bruce on Broadway. They enjoyed it very much. But no, I did not get to see Bruce on Broadway. I saw him this past tour. Tom Morello joined him for a few songs in LA, so it was pretty cool.
Now, I was going to ask you, so let's take a band like Rage. Do you like Rage?
Yeah, I like Rage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get where you kind of take a step back. I mean, even on stage at the Springsteen show, he had a guitar that said "Arm the Homeless," and I couldn't help but feel the cruel irony, considering we were at a venue that displaced a lot of low-income residents in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? It's like we're at a venue that probably that's not his fault. That's not his fault, but it's like you can't help notice these things, and I think it's more of like a product of the system. I certainly don't blame Rage or anything like that, but you can't help but, and then you kind of think, dude, just enjoy the music. Just enjoy the freaking music. Do you know a band called
Sleaford Mods?
I've heard of the name, but I don't think I know them. No.
Sleaford Mods is great. Check out Sleaford. You would love Sleaford Mods. It's just two guys. It's one guy with a laptop and another guy that he's really smart, but he just kind of rants a bit. It's like Marky Smith. Are you a Fall? Do you know the Fall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Similar,
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
It's cool. You would like them though. And it's there's something about it. They're filling stadiums over in England. There's something about it that's fresh, very fresh sounding and not pretentious. Like, it's cool. It's pretty blue collar.
All right.
Although they're making money. We'll see what happens now. Now that they got dough, you know.
So, what is the key to longevity?
Staying curious.
It's a really good answer.
Staying curious. You know, there's like okay. Here we go. This always opens up a can of worms. Okay, I'm going to go back to my son's 10 years old, and he's in the car, and he says, "Dad, you want to hear my new favorite song?" So this would have been 12 years ago. He's 22 now. So we're driving. I'm like, yeah, I always want to know. And he plays me Thrift Shop by Macklemore.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, Detroit, how many? Someone listened to it. You know, it's cool. I hadn't seen the video. The video's cool, you know. And I said, how many hits on it? It couldn't have been Spotify. Maybe it was Spotify. Or probably YouTube. I'm driving, so I can't watch the video.
Right.
And he goes like 22 million, right? And I go, Detroit. I go, it's 3 and then a comma. And then he goes, no, Dad, I know how to read. It's 22 million. And I'm thinking, I'm supposed to be in the music business. I've never heard of this guy. And it's got 22 million. So don't tell me no one's listening to music anymore, because that's bullshit. And that was a real eye-opener. And then I got to be honest with you, you know, I've seen, you know, I opened for The Clash once.
Something else I didn't know about you. You opened for you never told me.
I did, yeah.
Dude, all right, so for everyone listening who might not know,
but I was
I've
in a band. It wasn't Hamell On Trial. It was a band I was in.
But
Paul Simonon gave me a compliment. Said, you sweat a lot. That's good. That's right. Anyway, it's true. I swear to God. But so I saw the Replacements with Bob. I roadied for Sleater Kinney. You know, I've seen a lot of I saw The Who. I met Keith Moon when I was 14 years old. I saw Hendrix. I saw a lot of great shit. You know, I've been very, very lucky. I kind of know. I saw Sleaford Mods, the band I'm telling you about. You know, great. I've seen Fat White Family a couple times. I've seen Iggy, and I've seen a lot of really great shit. There was a point to all this. What were we talking about? So when I see dudes with the guitars, I'm like, oh my God, I've seen it so far. I'm telling you what I find to be the most punk rock shit now: pop, modern pop. Harry Styles is singing songs, you know, Sugar, Watermelon Sugar. It's got 2 billion hits, and it's a song about eating pussy.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 2 songs about eating pussy that have over 1 billion hits. I don't know. I think that's pretty fucking subversive. And that's where I'm at. So I listened to I listened to The Weeknd. I listened to Silk Sonic. I listened to Billie Eilish. I listened to Kendrick. Tyler, the Creator. I don't know. I find it incredibly creative. I also think here's one for your podcast. Probably the most influential band of all time. I mean, obviously the Beatles are up there. I think fucking Kraftwerk, dude. All the fucking sounds that I'm hearing from modern pop radio all came from Kraftwerk. Incredibly influential band.
Wow, that is interesting. I never thought.
I might as well say something controversial. What's the point of just talking about, you know, the Arby's in San Pedro? Is it good though? Does it have horsey sauce?
I don't know if we have an Arby's. I think
you should get one.
I think we got one. There's some good. When you're here, if you want a good sandwich, there's a couple spots I could take you to. So yeah,
the whole Lotto Ice Spice. Do you know anything about Lotto or Ice Spice?
No.
Oh fuck, dude, they're hysterical. It's so great, and it takes my mind off the fact that Nazis are assembling in the hills.
Yeah. I mean, well, how do you? Because I've asked people, especially since, like, you know, you remember the era of, you know, telling the Nazi punks to fuck off. How does that kind of compare to now? I mean, we're literally seeing
the only thing, you know, here's the thing. At my age, I think you knowing you and your politics as I do, I think you were more realistic than me. I think I was naive. I think you were kind of telling me, I don't know if it's 80-20 and the good, it's 80% of us are good, but there are 20%. Now, I think you were always kind of saying, I think it's 41 or, 49-51, depending on any given day. And I've absolutely gone in your corner. And I used to think like guys like Bill Hicks, who obviously I love and, were humanists, and I was just catching them on a funny day. Now I listen to it with entirely different ears. And I think, no, they were warning, people are fucking stupid and evil, and watch your fucking step. Because at this point, after what's gone down and the support that he still has after what he is, my dad was Jewish, and I used to think, oh, these stupid Germans, how do they ever get suckered into that fucking clown? Well, now I know. And I know that could happen anywhere. And I got to do shit like not read The Handmaid's Tale, which I did read, and it puts me in a fucking, my kid's like, oh, let's watch Baby Reindeer. I'm like, I can't fucking watch it. It's my anxiety level. Let's watch Spirited Away or fucking South Park. I can't fucking deal with it,
I watched Baby
Reindeer. And I'll never regain, at my age, I will never regain my faith in humanity. I would just never do it. I now deal basically on a case-by-case basis. I like you.
That's realist, though. That's definitely realist. I can say I've never seen anything quite like this.
Bingo.
And it goes far beyond.
I say it all the time. I was in third grade. There was a Kennedy assassination. I saw Nixon. I saw Watergate. I saw Vietnam. I saw Reagan, Contras, AIDS. I saw fucking Bush, Daddy Bush, Baby Bush. I thought Baby Bush would fucking, you and I used to talk about Karl Rove and fucking Donald Rumsfeld and, Dick Cheney, them motherfuckers. I thought, well, they can't get any worse than that. Those guys are fucking Boy Scouts compared to this shit.
I wouldn't go that, not politically, but I see what you're saying. They weren't as they were more subtle. Now it's like, and I think Trump is just one of many symptoms. I think Trump was just a guy who absolutely.
But here is the deal. There's nobody. There's certain people in history. And I'm not kidding. I'm dead fucking serious, man. January 6th, if the military had backed him up, we'd be living in different times right now, and he has that, we can mock him and say how stupid he is or any of that shit, but whatever Mussolini had, whatever Stalin had, whatever Hitler had, whatever that weird sort of charisma that comes with cult of personality, the man has it. It's fucking undeniable, He's got millions of people that whole thing about I could shoot somebody on the street right now, they'd back me up. They absolutely would. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a lie. The character actors. That was a Democrat. That they're fucking. I'm like right now. I'm in the Poconos. And staying with some friends that are incredibly liberal. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm not insanely paranoid, but I'm definitely bummed out, man. I carry It's exhausting. I've stopped listening to just about everybody, and to stay in a good mood, it's fucking exhausting. It is. Yeah. You're constantly like, I think I'm going to listen to the Beatles today because I can't fucking take it.
It is, and this election cycle in particular, it's just the same old, sort of recycled thing. And it's like, and you see people just like creating these fantasies in their heads where it's like, because in reality, look, Biden, I like Joe Biden as far as I can frickin' throw him. But, when people make it out like, well, Trump wouldn't have even, it's like, dude, Trump put this country under martial law. Do you people forget that? He put this country under freaking martial law, and it wasn't because of the pandemic or anything like that. It was because of Black Lives Matter. That's why he put the country under martial law. And Biden has done some similarly terrible things as well, and people have freaking amnesia. So, not literally, but you know what I mean? Like, we live in the United States of amnesia, where 4 years of this, and they're thinking, well, maybe that other guy wouldn't do these things. No. He did do them. He didn't start a new war. That's largely because of the pandemic. He wanted this war with Iran. He didn't get to have it.
Yeah. Well, even to think after that, what the gaslighting that you had to experience every day, I felt like I used to say, I feel like I'm with him as president. I feel like I'm married to Ike Turner. Like you were just beat up every fucking day. And the minute you went, oh my God, he said what? Every day. If you don't remember that shit, I mean, January 6th, really? Like, oh, it was I have people in my family. It was a long time ago. Oh my God. Fuck you. Really?
I don't know.
It's disgusting.
I don't know what's going to happen, man.
You can tell me, oh, Biden or whatever. Let me ask you this real quick, and we don't have to go down this rabbit hole, but could Bernie have won? Do you think Bernie would have won?
Oh, yeah. You don't think so? I think that the reason Biden won,
I unquestionably think there was a good possibility. My son, he was a huge Bernie guy, as was I, I had an epiphany. Here's another thing. I'm not like a conspiracy theory guy by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a new agey metaphysical guy. I am, maybe it's my Christian upbringing. My mother was Christian, my father was Jewish. I am a karma guy. You want to believe you do good shit comes back to you. Do bad shit. Finally, there's justice and it comes back at you. And I remember it was during Bernie had won his 5th primary in a row. I was taking my son to school. I was listening to NPR, which is really important to this story. Bernie had won his 5th primary the night before. The 2 commentators that were on NPR were not mentioning his name. It was fucking eerie, dude.
Yeah.
And they were talking Hillary this and Hillary that. And I knew she wasn't going to win. I could just tell at that moment. And I turned to my son, and he was like on his phone. He wasn't really paying attention. And I said, we're going to get the president we deserve, karmically. And he said, Bernie? I said, no, Trump. The country was built on genocide and slavery, for God's sakes. I mean, at some point, the shit's got to hit the fan if you're a karmic guy,
Yeah, and I think Bernie,
it was just they wouldn't talk about him, and I'm like, what are you doing? She had changed her whole thing because he was drawn like a fucking rock star. She's playing church basements.
Dude, I mean, look,
could open for me.
And I would have shown up to the show late. That's what I would have done. I'd be like, Hillary's opening for Hamell. I'm showing up right before Hamell said. I don't want to see the opening act. But no, man. I mean, look, and I'm not one of these people like Bernie Sanders walks on water. I voted for him every opportunity I could.
Yeah, me too.
Not a day goes by where I don't wish he was president, because we would be infinitely better off than we are, I think, if he was president. Because there's those things called executive orders. He would have done a lot that Biden wouldn't touch. So, and he also would have been a better leader than Trump, obviously. So, but
if we were to point where we currently are, if we had to blame one person for doing the most destruction in this country, would Mitch McConnell be a good candidate for that position?
Are we talking historically past 8 years? Like, be a little more like.
Yeah. How about historic? Let's give him the big baton. Yeah. Historically.
Well, historically, I feel like maybe you could point to Reagan. And then I would say, as far as like my lifetime goes, I would say Dick Cheney. Because, I mean, when you think about what the axis of evil really did, like the way, like what it set this country on, the just path of destruction in the Middle East, we never fully recovered from that. Mm-hmm. Still haven't. And even
the trickle down thing as well.
So like when you just look politically, now socially, there's all kinds of other factors at play, but like just politically, strictly via policy, especially foreign policy, I feel like those pillars put in place by son Bush and Reagan really just destroyed what this experiment had the potential.
Let me ask you this. let's try to see for a brief moment the glass as half full.
Yeah.
Do you think, because this is what I see, bear in mind, now I'm in the Poconos, I'm in a conservative region.
How many Trump signs are you seeing?
I supposedly, if I get, were I to, because the guy that I'm staying with, he's, you know, for lack of a better term, liberal, you know, just aghast. I mean, the MSNBC is on constantly in the fucking kitchen kind of vibe. And he on the TV, and he's watching sports constantly. You know, I'm seeing. In other words, okay, my question would be this: in the whole, let's try to see the glass half full. I'm seeing commercials on Main Street TV in conservative areas with mixed marriages, with gay men, couples in the middle of sports events.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if he made America great in ways that he never would have predicted. You know, that we're going through no pun intended, we're going through a transitional period. You know, I see a lot of the white conservative element that is resistant to, for lack of a better term, the woke movement. You know, sort of reminds me of the guy that's got, you know, it's the turn of the century into the 1900s and cars are driving by and he's, you know, he has a horse stable and he's he's on the side of the road screaming at the cars, the horses are always going to be better, whatever. But everywhere I look in the media, I'm seeing very kind of progressive shit, you know, and people, you know, the fact that, you know, you take a Ron DeSantis who's banning books in Florida. You know, Florida, you could saw them off and just kind of let that state fly down the ocean, you know. What would that be? That's a Bill Hicks thing too, right? Was there,
sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, well, desert was Arizona desert. He wanted LA to, you know, California to fly down. So mine would be like Georgia, you know, the Georgia Bay, right? But anyway, you know, I mean, that's a positive thing. And the kids, you know, like my son grew up, Obama was president, you know. We grew up in Ossining, which is a white kid. He was a minority in his school, great school, fucking amazing school. It was an Ecuadorian community. I grew up, I brought him up in Westchester, you know, but that's a blue collar, Ossining blue collar, Sing Sing prison. You know, the schools were amazing and there was amazing library that I actually worked at for a while. And, but the other surrounding, like Steve Jobs has a joint, Bill and Hillary has one over there, in the next town over, you know. But anyway, the point being is I'm seeing some positive repercussions from all this.
Mm-hmm. I think
you're not buying it.
No, I mean, there have been some social strides, and I feel like it's important to hold on to that so we don't become completely hopeless. And I do see that as a positive. I mean, I still remember it wasn't that long ago celebrating in the streets with my friends when they ruled in favor of gay marriage. You know, I mean, those were really positive things that happened, and those were just social movements.
I think Obama did that right before the second election, didn't he?
Well, it was
kind of that was one of the ballsier moves that he did, I think. Right? Because it wasn't.
He knew the public wanted it. I mean, the pulse of the public was there, and you know,
a lot of this stuff. I mean, they, you know, also they've lost the Republicans have lost the woman vote from 18 to fucking 50. Really, you know.
I hope so. I mean, sometimes I wonder. I mean, I really do. I'll say this: as of the recording of this, if the election was held today, I think Trump wins. I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of time before November, so I don't make predictions anymore until it's like way closer. But if the election were held right now, today, I think Trump would win. I don't like that at all, but I think he'd win. I don't know. What do you think? If it was held right now?
I don't know. I can't say it out loud. It's just, were he to win, it's so fucking disgusting, man. It is. It's so fucking. disgusting. I don't know. I guess, I've thought a lot about leave. I would like to leave. I'm really tired of America.
Where'd you go?
And I'd probably go to Ireland. A lot of great writers and a lot of great people. I think. I don't know.
You have a following,
but I can't really. I make my money touring here. I don't. My retirement plan currently is dying on stage. So I don't know. But
over there.
It's so everything right now is so incredibly sickening. And I would also venture to say, were he to be elected president, I think it would be open season on brown and black people. I think the fucking cops would go, exactly, right, boom. He's gonna let all the fucking January 6 people out of jail. He'd immediately forgive them. And many of them who've already served their sentences, initially they were sorry, but now they look back, they're political prisoners. That's what they think. It's fucking insane. I just would like to go and park America by the side of the road and just take my car key and leave.
I feel like you're a guy who could do it pretty easily.
Say it again?
You're a guy who could do that pretty easily. You have a following in the UK. You have a following in Ireland.
I do, but it's lucrative. I'm a small business owner and I know how to do it. I've been marketing for years, really. And it would be, part of the reason that it's lucrative for me is because I'm only over there 2 to 4 weeks. Like I'll do England, I'll do Ireland, I'll do some of Scandinavia or whatever and get back. There's a lot of countries I can't really play because even if English is their second language, the shit's flying by so fast that, Italy and France don't really work for me. So, after 4 weeks, I'd have to come over here and tour and I would be, subjected to fucking shit like Rachel Maddow, and I don't want to hear it.
I am going to prove you wrong.
I don't know that I've ever been. I will say this, dude. I'm obviously so fucking comfortable that I'm saying shit that I would never really say. But I mean, because,
Ed, we've been friends for about 20 years. So I'm saying this. This is where I'm coming from when I say this. I'm going to prove you wrong on a couple things you just said. The big one being,
I would love that. I would love that.
I'm going to set up a show for you in Italy. I can't promise the town yet because I'm not totally sure. And when it goes really freaking well, you're going to be like, oh, shit.
Fangul, Tisa Beach.
There you go. You know everything you need. I think you could definitely play anywhere in the EU. They have English-speaking stand-up everywhere.
Let's get back to the power. I thought you were going to try. I don't need a gig in Italy. I need to know that Nazis aren't going to be running the fucking country. That's really what I want.
No. I know. I'm just saying, like you talked about, well, I can only do 2 to 4 weeks. I think you could do the entire EU. I think that there's English-speaking stand-up everywhere in the EU now. If they have that,
how was Edinburgh for you?
Edinburgh was amazing. I wish I was going back this year. I mean, like any Edinburgh experience, there were times where I felt like the biggest loser on the planet. There were times where I felt like I was on top of the world, and most times were in between. But I had a freaking ball, and they have those types of festivals over there like every month. I think, yeah. You could relocate over there very easily if you wanted to.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this. I don't know. I mean, if he was elected president, would you? How would that affect you?
I mean, I think about it regardless who wins in November. Because I think societally, oh, no worries. But yeah, I mean, there's like just a huge ugliness that I think is going to go way beyond one president, one election cycle, et cetera, et cetera. And
well, he's not. I mean, even if he was incarcerated, which probably won't happen, but were he to be incarcerated, Hitler was incarcerated too. He got out and fucking, ran the show. So yeah, he ain't going anywhere. People, the way he eats, he's going to die. No, those guys live to like they're 120. They get people to replace them, and whatever the fuck.
Dude, my thing is
Rupert Murdoch, how old he? Fucking, they live to hate, really.
Yeah. I mean, dude, my thing is, I think about going abroad too, and there'd be an adjustment period, but I don't think I don't think it'd be that much of a. I mean, if I had your following overseas, I think I would have left already. Honestly,
Wow. Well,
I haven't been over there as
I
much
had
as
a
you
kid
have.
to bring up.
No. I know that. I know that. I'm
I
just
thought,
saying, like,
after the last time, I thought we were ridded to fuck her. I mean, I just thought this can't. Come on, this can't. And yet,
the
it's
societal
like,
ugliness, man. And even if he does lose again, I mean, you got people like Ron DeSantis floating around. We haven't
yeah,
heard
but
the
no,
last
yeah,
of
they don't.
him.
None of them have that thing. They don't. They don't. The reason it's
People
been
say that
kept
about him.
at
I hope
bay as
they're
long
right.
as it had, he's got more charisma than Nixon or even Reagan. He's, there's something
You think he
about
has more
him.
charisma than Reagan?
Yeah, because he's got that thing that those kind of people respond to, that
right.
feel, that want to be, we're stupid and we don't give a fuck. It's Nazis. We're stupid and take your art, and they're going to round up the fucking intellectuals.
Well, that's the really scary thing, is that in our society right now, and by the way, it's not like if Trump loses, all this goes away. I mean, that's just the reality. But like,
yeah, but they won't have that key. They won't have that guy.
They won't have their
but
guy up top.
No matter what, he'll be around for another 4 years. That's the thing. I don't want to go through this.
Sure. I mean, and we got like, there is a disdain for art and culture unlike anything I've ever seen in this country. There is a disdain towards education. There's a disdain towards science
are two
medicine. Yeah. I mean, and those are all the factors of fascism, all of them. And we got all of them turned up to 11. And you kind of look around and you just go, what do you do about this? I mean, dude, I literally live on the edge of the country. Literally, I live in the Bay of Los Angeles, and I still know what country I'm in every freaking day because of just the pulse here, and it is unlike anything I've ever seen, and it's unlike anything I think anyone's ever seen, really.
Yeah.
So
I know I've added elements. It's funny. So I came from Texas, as I told you 2 weeks ago. And I went across the country. I may have seen 2 Trump things, overt Trump things. And frankly, when I go into the truck stops, and they're notoriously conservative, I don't feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That having been said, and I don't add anything on stage. I talk once it starts. Similar, later I'll be thinking, what did I say on Ron's show? I'll be paranoid looking towards my bed because I go off and so I don't add anything on stage. Nothing gets edited. Off stage, however, it's very different than it used to be. I'm in the Waffle House. You're from New York? No reason to bring that up. You see about 3 guys with the red hats, looking around. But, I got to be honest with you. Everybody that I've come in contact with, hello, how you doing? No problems, really no problems. Now, here's one of the added things. Typically you go out on tour and you think wallet, keys, phone charger. Do I got my vitamins? Do I got, my journal? Do I got, the clothes? Do I got the strings? Do I got the picks? Whatever. And now it's, do I have the pepper spray? And that's true.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's indicative of, the climate, but I went across the country. Everybody's fucking sweet. Go figure, I mean, I just
people
have
coming
to
out
stay
to see
away
you.
from all that. Those, I was Democracy Now! Every morning. I can't take it anymore.
It's hard. No, it really is hard. I mean, I still follow the blogosphere and get my news, but it's just, well,
and
dude.
God bless somebody like Amy Goodman, Noam Chomsky, they're tireless. God bless them, I'm like, fuck it, man. We're a bunch of fucking, it's germs.
Well, let's end on a high note. I'm really excited for this house show. You're coming. You're going to be coming to San Pedro June 18th for the house show.
Yeah, and I will be. I know I seemed a little. I probably haven't had my coffee. I'm seemed a little gloomy, Gus. The house show, it'll be like a fucking circus. We're gonna have I got monkeys and a lizard. It'll be awesome. There's a unicyclist and there's a ballerina and juggling and all kinds of stuff. And people stripping down to their thong. It'll be up. It'll be like Up with People, if you remember that one. No
And
it's true though. I keep it. It's very cathartic for me to be on stage, and I do keep it, funny. Through the gloom and the doom and the whatever. Where I stand now, I started laughing at one point. It was like a checklist of despair. Okay, what do we got first? Politics, check. Homelessness, check. Global warming, check. How many of your friends got cancer? Check. We need the checklist of despair.
Oh boy, that sounds like a song waiting to happen.
Yeah, I know.
If it's not already. Yeah. Well, so in closing, where can people go to learn more about you?
Well, there's a website, www.hamellontrial.org. There's an Instagram thing, Hamell TV, Hamell TV. Ron, there's even a Wikipedia page. You know what I mean?
For that. There you go.
Yeah, that credibility that I need,
Hamell, thanks so much for doing this, and can't wait to see you on June 18th.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for the support. I hope I didn't bomb everybody out. Next time we'll talk about sex or something. You know what I mean? I don't hit bottom, but I bang the shit out of the sides. And I think that's 20 minutes worth of conversation.
That was Hamell On Trial. Be sure to check them out, hamellontrial.org. And for those of you in the Los Angeles area, June 18th is our house show together. If you want more information on that, email me at ronplacone.com. Music for the 1000 podcast is provided by Andrew Saxena. Be sure to check out his podcast, the Bay Watching Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, you can do so over patreon.com/ronplacone. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of cool perks, full stand-up sets not available anywhere else, private screenings of my films and other projects, a bonus podcast between Andrew and myself. It's a wonderful community, and that's all for a Give What You Can level. Even $1 a month goes a long way. All right, we're pushing 40. Almost at another round number. Again, June 8th in Idyllwild, June 18th with Hamell. Check out Hamell Live. You're going to love it. See you next week. Hey guys, Ron Placone here. Take your own 1,000 challenge. No, you don't need to interview 1,000 people, although if you want to do that, go for it. Your 1,000 challenge can be whatever you want. Maybe you want to call a friend out of the blue once a week. Maybe you want to read a book every month. Maybe you want to start a different garden every season. I guess that might be dependent on where you live. Look, the point of the challenge is taking on an endeavor that enriches your life in some way, and it can be measured. And then, of course, you do it regularly. That's what 1,000 is doing for me, and hopefully for you too. The main reason for this podcast and every podcast I've ever done is to build community. So take your own challenge. Then join our Facebook group. It's called 1,000 What's Your Challenge? ? That's 1,000 What's Your Challenge ? And post about what your 1,000 challenge is and the progress you're making. All I ask is that people be encouraging of each other's challenges. This is personal and vulnerable, so be cool. There's enough negativity on social media. We don't need to add to it. For those of you who aren't on Facebook, hopefully in the future we'll be expanding to places like Discord, Reddit, but for now, we're starting on Facebook. And again, that Facebook group is called 1,000 What's Your Challenge? See you there.